Hey, it's Les from the TV Dudes. This week, I chat with actor Bourke Floyd about getting back into acting, his role in the new Apple TV project Swagger, and of course, Dawson's Creek. It's a great interview, and I hope you enjoy.
Hey, Les, it's Bourke Floyd calling. How are you, man?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. Thanks for taking the time to chat.
Yeah, I really appreciate you making time today.
Absolutely.
So, I was excited in doing the research. I'm always interested when people in a creative career feel that shift between I love doing this personally, but now I'm going to do this professionally. I always think that's an interesting moment. And so I was looking forward to talking to you about kind of coming into a leadership role as an actor in a production. Also, your time on stage, your time on Dawson's Creek. So I tend to just get straight into these things.
Yeah, Dawson's is absolutely one that I am fully prepared to talk about because that one is I get it. And you know what? Your listeners are going to, if you didn't ask, if we didn't address it, they'd be like, how could you do that without asking about Dawson? It's Dawson's Creek.
I've had people do that to me before of like, you talked to so-and-so and you didn't bring up such and such. I'm like, oh my God, man, it occurred to me 30 minutes after that. Yeah.
100%. Yep.
So to jump right into it, you had one of the funniest stories that I think I'd seen in an interview recently was you just touched on it in an interview I'd read about being approached by a modeling agent. And
100%, yeah.
Do you mind telling me a little bit about how that went?
Not at all, man. So it is a pretty, it's sort of it would be the same old quintessential, I saw her, at the deli or at the malt shop and the soda shop. And I said, you've got to be famous. I'm going to make you a star. And then it happened and she went along and now she's famous, except that I was there and a part of it. And so I screwed it up. I was in New York. I was living in Manhattan. I was working for Morgan Stanley. I graduated from University of South Carolina and I'd done commercial work and some stuff like that. But, and I'd acted, but it just didn't seem like something that I would ever make a living out of. And I was coming from the gym and I was walking up Christopher Street and out of this little Mediterranean coffee shop place, this woman steps out and she stops me and she says, I'm sorry, are you a model? And I was like, oh, brother, here we go. I said, no, ma'am. She goes, oh, okay. Well, listen, I own a modeling agency. I just got off with a client who would love your look. You're exactly who we were just talking about. And I'm like, oh, is that right? Oh, am I exactly what? Listen, lady, I might have moved here yesterday, but I wasn't born yesterday. You know what I mean? Like, what turnip truck do you think you found me falling off of, lady? It was Katie Ford from Ford Modeling. And the client she was talking about was Bruce Weber from Abercrombie and Fitch. And
so fully legit.
2 weeks later, I shot the cover.
Yeah,
fully legit. I mean, as legit in the 90s, about as legit as you could get.
Whatever, lady. I don't need your Ponzi scheme.
That's it. Yeah. You just want my money. And, I don't want to go to your convention and I don't need classes. And, oh, man, I mean.
So do you find yourself leaning kind of the other direction in your career going forward? Do you tend to not to kind of ignore the looking the gift horse in the mouth now and just assume people are on the level?
Actually, you know what I did learn? I did learn from that. Like, it's okay to have the conversation.
Yeah,
have the conversation. I've got an idea for a script. I mean, think of it this way, right? The way we have over, 2 decades, God, I'm an old man, over 2 decades since that that happened, we have now discussed all kinds of stuff. And one of them is my friends and I. I've got a great friend of mine is a fantastic, unbelievable actor, comedian, musician, host, Craig Robinson. He played Daryl on The Office. He's absolutely one of my closest friends. I love that guy. He and another great friend of mine, Trevor Pennick from the band O-Town, we have talked before. This conversation has actually happened about being in the pitch room for Back to the Future. Like, can you imagine having been in that pitch room and hearing them say, no, that kid from Family Ties, or actually it wasn't even going to be him originally. It wasn't even going to be him originally.
No. So yeah, we've got Eric Stoltz. It's a gold mine. You can't lose.
Eric Stoltz. Right. You got Eric Stoltz, you know, that kid. And look, he goes back to the future. And that guy from Taxi's got the plutonium and it's in a DeLorean. And do you know what I'm saying? Like how insane that must have sounded.
Yeah, just a room full of suits and crickets.
Correct. Suits and absolute crickets. And they do that. I can imagine them doing this whole pitch and all at the end was like, and how much does it cost? Do you know what I mean? Like, what do we have on the slate? What do we need? So it's that kind of thing that if you don't listen to the pitch, you know, you'll hit, you know, you hit zero of the balls you don't swing at.
Yeah.
And so I think, you know, having the conversation, and I definitely learned it from that you just don't know when you say yes to something, you don't go into it expecting, you know, there are things that you say yes to that you know are going to be huge. Big Mama's House 2, Martin Lawrence, it's a sequel. The first one was huge. You know, they didn't have Paul Giamatti in the second one. They actually had an amazing actor, Zach Levi, kind of be the partner. And in that one, I knew that I was in for being a part of a hit. So there are those, but then there are just as many where if you just listen to it, you can get a lot further. And maybe it's a risk. Maybe you're taking a risk, but at the end, you know, you have a huge reward at the end. And unless you have the conversation, you just don't know.
Yeah.
And you never know. You might be shutting down Katie Ford.
Yeah.
Which is so dumb, so silly that I did it. And so grateful that she, at the end of it, was like, are you done? Okay, well, here's my card. Once you're done, okay, yep, got it. Are you finished? Great. Here's my card. Give me a call if you're interested.
That's great.
I was like, oh, I am. My bad. That's on me.
That's a great way to be. So can you talk a little bit about what it felt like to get into a professional acting career and then step away from it for a little while and then get back into it?
Sure. Absolutely. So I think talking about risk, right? And talking about reward. I think there is a financial, we have responsibilities in our lives, right? Adulting, like my joke right now is when I grow up, I want to be a child actor. Because, you know, you don't have to adult and yet you can still make a living acting. I think we have responsibilities, man, and we have priorities based on those responsibilities. And it's scary to say I'm going to go be an actor and not do these things that have a textbook pathway to being able to afford my bills, right? Or have a kid or anything like that. And I absolutely have no judgment on the people that make the priority that, you know what I mean? Being able to pay their bills and being happy doing that and being that person. Those people are incredible and the fabric of our entire society and our entire culture. And they sacrificed the dream of one thing, some of them sacrifice the dream of one thing in exchange for the dream of another, of a family or a successful dentistry or, you know what I mean? Whatever it is, right? Like they make that choice and I salute that. I going that path. I mean, I was working for a brokerage. I was in finance and thought this is what it's going to be. And then I got, and I've been paid to act before. I've done theater and been paid for that and commercials and things like that. But I was with Model Logic in Richmond, Virginia, the great agency, regional agency. And so I'd made some money, but where's the next check? How do I make a living? How do I live off of this? And that, so I was like, well, you don't do that. You go and you become, you become a broker or whatever. And so I was doing finance, and the Katie Ford thing happened, and I kept my job still. I told them what was going on, which was funny. Talk about being in a room full of suits. So fellas, I'm going to go to, I think the first shoot I did was at Mountain Lake where they filmed Dirty Dancing, but I'm going to go shoot Abercrombie at this thing. And, I'm going to be in catalogs or whatever. And then I'll be back at work next Monday. Is that cool? And they're like, you're doing what?
Yeah.
What are you doing? But I did that, and I kept my regular job, and I got, another gig, and then another gig, and then commercials. And then I was the tagline voice of a sub shop at the end of all of their commercials. Yeah. I'm not, as the sandwich gets chomped. I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, as a voiceover artist, right? So, and I was getting paid for that. I didn't realize for how long I would get paid for that. All of these things seem like this money doesn't keep coming. I have to have something more firm, more stable. And then I had done the Gap Khaki Country commercial, and I've been paid very well, and thought, wow, that's hitting the lottery. And they brought me in for the Gap Khaki Swing commercial. And I was like, cool, man, who hits the lottery twice? This is great. Not realizing what Gap Khaki Swing would do. And at that time, the union contract for commercial rate, you were paid more than handsomely. And it was crazy, crazy, crazy residuals. And I came to pick up my first residual check for it, thinking that it would be similar to Khaki Country, which again, I was, gosh, man, it was amazing. But I still had my day job, but amazing. Mm-hmm. And I got on the elevator from my agency in New York, Abrams Artists, and I rode down at the time, that was my agent. I rode down the elevator, and I opened the check, and I turned around, and I got back on the elevator and was like, you guys screwed up. This cannot possibly be the right check for me. And I was trying to be cool. I was trying to help out the assistant. I was like, hey, man, I know it's my name on it, but I think somebody dotted I think somebody fat fingered this check.
It's going to mess your drawer up at the end of the day. I can't do this to you.
Right. You know what I mean? Like, hey, fix that, man. You probably want to get that fixed before it gets cashed, right? I'm a good guy. Look at me. He's like, you're an idiot. That's your check. I was like, okay. Right. And I give this to who? He's like, you. It's your check. You give it to your bank. You spend it. Please get out of this office now. You are obnoxious. I'm like, oh, all right, well. I swear I believe his exact words as I was walking away was, you're lucky you're pretty. I swear to God, I think he actually said that to me. Oh my God.
Take a time out of my day to explain to you how your paycheck works.
Yes, to walk you how a check works. And I was like, holy cow, man, maybe I should really make a go of this. These auditions and all this stuff that I'd said no to, and these opportunities that I'd passed on because I had to get my license or my SEC file, you know what I mean? Because of something else, maybe I could put this on hold. Keep in mind, that spot that I had with that brokerage, I mean, I thought, those were harder to come by than just your standard, right? And mm-hmm. So I was having to make a risk of saying, well, this spot probably won't be open. And I remember when I was telling my boss, Brad, hey, so what about, he was like, oh, this spot, not probably. No, this goes away forever. And I was like, yeah, okay, well, I'll take that risk. And, you get on a soap opera, and which is pretty much a day job. Great fun. But I mean, pretty much the hours are like having a day job, banker's hours. And then I was doing a show on Broadway at the time. And, suddenly, I mean, all of this just suddenly, as soon as I committed to it, to chasing that. And as soon as I started saying yes more and no a lot less, things really started to kind of snowball in a great way. And it was a real I feel so fortunate. My friends Dan Capolero and Greg Provence, and actually there's a great friend of mine, John. He's actually a friend of mine. He's a great friend of some great friends of mine, and he knows everyone. Got an actor named Johnny Alonso. He's an actor and a producer. He's brilliant. We were all just talking about that like weird heyday for us, what felt so strange. We ran in the same circle. We were all working on or auditioning for the same shows. And each of us were booking, you know what I mean? Like we were booking something, sometimes together, sometimes not, but it was like, it was our own cool little feeling of the rat pack kind of, you know what I mean? Like we were supportive of each other and what each other was doing. And, you know, it's a real blessing. Dan, by the way, is, I think, the U.S.'s apology for David Hasselhoff to Germany, because his album is like skyrocketing up the charts. Dan Capolero, his album, he performs under the name Daniel, and it is killing it. It's a great album, by the way, but also it's like crushing it in Germany. And I swear to God, it's the apology for Michael Knight for David Hasselhoff being up. And I love David Hasselhoff. My second dog, we named David Hasselruff. So I name all my dogs after celebrities. So it's not, you know, it's not a judgment of him, but man, do the mashed potato one more time for me, David Hasselhoff.
Oh, that's great. So coming back to it now, we're talking about that fear of, you know, no, if you walk away from this path now, this goes away forever. Did you have that feeling stepping away from acting, or worry coming back that it wasn't going to be there?
100%. Yeah. So, you know, I had a family thing that I had to take care of.
Yeah.
And it took years. And then after it was done, it took far more years for me to recover and to come back to being a regular human being who was okay with being a human being. And my wife and, you know, our son Luca is 8. You know, he's seeing me on Netflix or on Hulu, you know, in these reruns and stuff. And he's like, hey, you know, you should maybe, you should do this. This is kind of cool that you're on TV. You know what I mean? Or guys' grocery games, things like that. You know, he's like, man, you should probably do that more. Like, and, you know, through the eyes of a child, right? He's like, yeah, man, it's just that easy. You just say you want to do it, they put you on. I mean, so far, that's what I've seen to be true. And I'm like, that's not how that works at all. And his mom, my wife, Lee, you know, her saying, look, just go do it. Just try it. You know, what's the worst that could happen? It's not good. This is the only, I got a friend of mine, Adam Berardi at Overnight Pictures, had a product, a product that he wanted to shoot. He had a property that he wanted to make and called Sour, which I hope we get a chance to talk about in a little more detail, right? But he had this project that's sitting on the shelf at Overnight, and he wanted to shoot it. And he had a small shoot window for it because Corona, you know, COVID had started happening, and things weren't shut down or anything. Don't get me wrong, but it looked like it was that really everything up in the air moment.
If you plan to do principal, you want to do it now.
Yeah. Correct. End of last year, end of 2019 rather, very beginning of 2020. And so he sent it to me, and I sat there and I talked to my wife. There's some guilt that comes with making a certain amount of money acting for me, you know, there's like this, man, what can I do with this? I'm not working hard enough to make this kind of money, because you don't see it. You don't see what impact it may have for someone immediately. You don't see a thing, a return to it. And, you know, so I felt undeserving of that kind of success in this field. And she said, look, you know, what's the worst thing that happens? You go, you make a movie with your friend, you know, you do your best and you get it out of your system. And she has this, it's a quote from somewhere that she tells me 2 things. You always have to read this book, Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. And every part of every day, you got to find some place to drop into, to look into your passion, you know, for what you love. And so I was like, okay, you're right. We go, I spend a few weeks, we shoot this thing. I hang out with Adam. What's the worst that could happen? You know? And man, they discovered this young lady, this talent, Natalie Maher. Mm-hmm. She is unreal in this movie. First of all, she is she's got a spread in this in Lux magazine in Italy right now. Like, she is stunning to look at. She is a gorgeous, gorgeous young lady. She couldn't take a bad picture. She tried. Beyond that, right? And there are plenty of people that are like that, and congratulations to them. Beyond that, she's an immensely talented actress and an incredibly, incredibly kind human being. And so it was great to work with her, and she killed it. And the finished product of Sour was really strong and was picked up. Again, it's an Overnight Pictures production. Green Apple is distributing it, and that should be out in the next month. Sour on your streaming platforms, Apple, Amazon VOD.
Yeah, I mean, I got as far as Detective and Haunted House and was sold, so I'm definitely planning on checking out Sour.
Yeah, it's you'll pay for the whole seat, you'll only need the edge, kind of thing. And we have some fun with it as well. But it's a really great, quick on the pacing, 80 minutes of thriller and horror and fun and screaming and I was like, man, this is wow, Adam. I think I said to him, I remember he had cut part of it together and we were doing the after, the interviews for the commentary and stuff. And I was doing it with him and I was like, wow, man, after we were done, I was like, and he showed me a couple of clips, showed us some clips, and I was like, man, whew, you guys did a really good job. He's like, you get you're in it, right? We did a good job, but you too.
You did a good job too.
You are a part of the we you're speaking of. And my wife's like, yeah, that's really good. And my son's like, I can't even watch. It's terrifying. Like this little clip, and I was like, oh, that was a lot of fun. And, COVID had happened. So the world had come to somewhat of a stop, and another opportunity presented itself through Little Books, Little Films, and this raunchy American Pie, Animal House kind of style, adult American Pie, and then Animal House style raunchy comedy. Peach Cobbler was a script that was handed to me, and I read it and thought, wow, that's really funny and would be a lot of fun to shoot, and got nothing else going on right now. And so I went and filmed that, and that should be out in the spring, late spring, I believe. And one thing just led to another. And now I'm currently in production for a movie, Alien Sniper, with Paradox Universe, and that one's an action and a thriller kind of thing, and playing the marshal. And it's funny to play the old guy in it. There's a young guy, a great actor. Doug's an amazing actor. This young guy, and the female lead in it, Olivia Coro, is amazing. And it's fun. I'm the old man on set. I'm the old man. I'm like walking around like I remember with John Shipp, Wesley Shipp. He played the Flash. He was Dawson's dad. He's on Dawson's Creek, and the first season I joined, was also the season that his character passes away and is written off the show. And I remember getting to meet him before any of that happened and being like, oh my gosh, Sean Wesley Shipp, I can't believe it. Like, you know what I mean? Like fanning out about this guy who's been in the game. And he was younger then than I am now. And I'm like, wow, I'm such an idiot. I really am lucky that my wife thinks I'm pretty, because I'm not bright. I will tell you when I'm not. And that's quick on the uptake. But yeah, so one thing led to another. Now I've got a CBS. It'll be for Apple TV, CBS Studios Imagine Entertainment Television. Reggie Rock Blythewood, called Swagger. That'll be out on Apple TV also coming up this spring, and I've got a role on that. I'm just so proud to be a part of that show.
Yeah,
and what that show is going to do. Yeah, that show is going to be fantastic, and what a great, of all the streaming platforms, so much great content coming out. Streaming is the new cable, I guess. For pushing dramatic content and comedic content, but to be on Apple TV Plus is so amazing, and to work with a cast like Mac Wilds and O'Shea Jackson, and just so much young talent on that as well, and Reggie Rock Blythewood from Shots Fired and Love and Basketball, just everything. Frankly, it's just I'm really Ken Arnold, a friend of mine, a great guy that's on that show, Jesse Robinson, great talent on that show, and I'm really looking forward to seeing that, and I'm very proud to have been a part of it. But Sour is what comes up next, and that's where you can see me next. And hope people get a chance to see that, and I hope they tune in, and I hope they tell their friends. So I'm really excited for Sour.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Well, man, thank you so much for making time today to talk to me about it all.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me on.
And I'll have to definitely make time some other time to just pick your brain about having the lead in Hedwig and the Angry Inch. That has to be a story.
Oh, yeah, there are a couple of stories to that. I would love to be back to talk about that. And just for your friends, so they don't yell at you, just for your friends, I will say this. Katie Holmes is that tall and pretty. Michelle Williams is that rad and kind. Busy Phillips is that funny and beautiful. Kerr Smith is that salt and pepper handsome. Josh Jackson is the greatest guy I've ever met. James Vanderbeek's head isn't that big, and he's a great human being and a talented actor. And Dawson's Creek was a lot of fun to be on, and I'm really happy that I had an opportunity to be a part of a program like that. See, they recovered the Dawson base. You see that? We covered it for
We
you.
got it done, man, and that's great to hear. Pacey was the man. I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah, you were Team Pacey. Okay.
I live in Austin, so I can keep an eye out for Vanderbeek's head.
Yep, now you can. Now he's there. And Zach Levi doesn't live too far from you.
Well, thank you so much, man. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Les. You too.
TV Dudes is an independently run podcast out of Austin, Texas. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/TVDudes.
You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TV Dudes. All the music for our show is done by our friend and original TV Dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith.
To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com. I'm Randy Lander.
I'm Les Weiler.
And I'm Kyle Scott.
Thanks for listening.